Today on Marilyn, find out what advice some of your favorite experts and stars would have given their younger selves. From tech expert Amber MacArthur.
But I would say the first thing you need to do is quit bad habits.
Entrepreneur and multimillionaire Robert Herjavec.
It's never too late.
Former 80s teen movie icon Molly Ringwald.
Sometimes I just want to say, go to therapy.
Actress and all-around lady boss Vivica A. Fox.
Look, learn. If you really did something that wasn't good, be honest with yourself.
And personal finance expert Kelly Keehn. It all starts right now. And now, here she is, Marilyn Denis.
Hey! Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you. So think about this, everyone. Have a seat. If you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self? You have to think about that, all right? So today, some of your favorite experts and celebrities are sharing their advice that they would give their younger selves, starting with our very own tech expert, Amber MacArthur. Watch this.
Amber MacArthur is one of the world's leading experts in technology.
I'm going to try this one out.
But where did it all begin? Born and raised in Prince Edward Island, she took her fiercely independent cues from her hometown hero, Anne of Green Gables. Amber's strong work ethic and passion for business began at the young age of 8, working at her parents' business, cleaning parking lots every day before school. She graduated with degrees in both English and journalism from King's College in Halifax, then moved west to San Francisco, California, immersing herself into a high-tech culture that has a reputation for being sparsely populated by women. Working around the clock in the startup trenches, it didn't take long before Amber joined software giant Microsoft, where she built one of the first female-focused lifestyle portals and coached people on television about building their business online. Fast forward to today. She's the founder of her own hugely successful digital agency, Connect, a sought-after keynote speaker, best-selling author, radio host, and television personality. Amber MacArthur is an all-round inspiring success story.
Please welcome Amber MacArthur. It's always good to know where you came from. When you look at that, how do you feel?
I feel very emotional because Prince Edward Island has a lot to do with my upbringing, and I have lots of family who are still there. So it's very emotional to look back because in technology, I'm always looking forward.
That's right.
So I don't often get a chance to do that.
Very good. Well, I'm so glad you're going to do the show today. You have 5 tips for new grads or people who want to change careers, and it could happen at any time in their lives, that's for sure. I love your tips, too. The first one is quit bad habits.
Absolutely. You know, a lot of times when people are giving advice, they say, oh, you should start something new, start a new diet, start a new exercise regime. But I would say the first thing you need to do is quit bad habits. For me personally, I quit drinking 17 years ago. And when I quit, I say I quit completely. Because this was a habit that I had that was really interfering with my goals and my relationships. And I knew it wasn't adding any value to my life. So I quit completely, haven't had a drink in 17 years. And I think there's a lot of people out there who have those bad habits that they know could help them succeed in life, and they kind of ignore it. But I think this is the first step. Get rid of those bad habits and bad jobs and bad people. Get rid of those people too.
Right. You have to, because that opens up the door for new opportunities.
Absolutely.
Limit energy vampires. Well, that could be people. That could
It is
be people. Yeah.
And this is a really big one. You know, I have a friend who talks about this all the time because many times when you're graduating, you're looking for a new job or you're trying to build your own business, there are people around you who are pulling you down.
Yes.
Those are the energy vampires in your life. They're sucking the energy out of you. I know there's people who are watching this right now who are thinking of who those people are. You want to limit your exposure to those people because those people do not support you.
Right.
And all they're going to do is suck the energy out of you. So you want to limit how much you're interacting with them.
Yeah, sometimes we talk about when we're doing the weight loss shows about, you know, people that they're going, oh, you lost weight and you feel good about yourself, and they go, oh, you can have this. That's a negative thing.
It's a negative thing. It happens to me all the time. People try to get me to drink every single week, believe it or not, right? And those are those people who don't support what's good for me.
That's right. And you have to make that clear. How do you make that clear to people?
I make it pretty clear as far as saying, you know, that's something that's important to me, and I'll just be upfront with them and explain that, hey, this is something that I don't do and I don't want to do. So I think you need to tell those people. A lot of them won't listen.
That's right. So no matter what the bad habit is, getting to point number one is if it's you know, offered to you, whatever that could be, Just say, no, I don't do that, but I'll have this instead.
You'll quickly find the people who support you.
Yes, you will. Always exceed expectations. That's number 3.
This is a big one. So early on in my career, when I started my own business, I had a chance to work with Tony Robbins. Many people know him as the motivational speaker and business coach. And he always talks about creating value and exceeding expectations. I had asked him for a quote for my first book that I wrote, and he could have just written 2 sentences. Instead, he went off, and 1 week later, he sent me a 6-minute video that was a testimonial about my expertise. And I always remember that. And so often we forget that we should exceed people's expectations. We should create value and do more than what they're asking. And that's the way that you truly get ahead and become a leader.
So if someone asks something of you, how do you respond to those things?
I always try to do more.
Right.
I do this in contract negotiations all the time. I will say I'm going to do these things, but I'll always do a little bit more.
A little extra, yeah.
And I think that's absolutely critical. That's where you create that value. And that allows you, whether you're a graduate and you're going to school and you want to get good grades, that gives you an opportunity to do better than what's expected.
You also would probably, in the position that you're in, getting a lot of people looking for a job, looking for advice. So how do you handle that? And I would guess, knowing you exceed their expectations. So you would, first of all, answer their letter, answer their email. Let's be respectful to people.
Absolutely.
And then what would you do?
Yeah, I mean, I try to do that a lot. I get a lot of people reaching out online who are looking for help. I mean, more than anything, I do try to help as much as I can. But I don't want to just help and give people advice. I want to give them opportunity. And I want to find opportunities for us to work together.
Yes.
Just recently, I was talking to a woman and she wanted me to mentor her. I was like, I don't want to mentor you. I want to work with you. Is there content that you can contribute to my site? Are there ways that we can collaborate together? So I think it's important when people are looking for mentors, think about the opportunities to work together as well.
Somehow connect. Even if you can't do something for them as best you can, if you can't as a frontline person, have somebody get in touch with them. I think that's so important. Prioritize your health. And you do that exponentially.
Yeah, this is a big one. And I noticed even just last year, we actually doubled the revenue in our business. And it was also the same year that I really took fitness seriously. And I think there's a direct correlation between those two things. Because the truth is, when you're not healthy, when you're not feeling good, you can't exceed people's expectations. You can't do well in business or getting a job out there.
It clouds your decision making.
It clouds your decision making. You don't feel strong. You don't feel confident. You feel anxious. You feel tired. You feel all those things that hurt you in terms of reaching your goals. So that's
what do
a
you
big
do?
one.
What do you do to work out?
So right now I work out maybe 4 to 5 times a week. I cut out sugar about 2 years ago. I don't eat any sugar at all, maybe a little bit here and there.
If it's hidden, you don't know that's there.
Yeah,
Right?
and I eat mostly vegetables and a bit of protein, but I really, I cut out a lot of that. Again, just to allow me to focus, and it's helped a lot.
That takes a lot of discipline. I just had sugar. And then you're talking about like fake sugar. You're talking about like fruit and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not talking.
Right.
I eat lots of fruit, so I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just the other stuff.
So health is really, I agree with that. Great correlation. Makes you feel better, makes you perform better, and you'll see it. You'll see it with the connections that you made with people.
And you feel stronger.
Oh, you feel stronger.
Right? And then you ask for what you deserve. And that's a big part of being successful.
And then you say number 5, love your champions.
So we all know there's people who are energy vampires. They're sucking the energy out of your goals and dreams and what you really want to do. But then you have champions. For me, my mom and dad have always been my biggest champions, and I love them to pieces. And so I go to them when I get good news. I go to them for advice. And what I mean about love them is nurture the relationships with the people who believe in you and who support you. And that will help you achieve your goals as well.
You said before that quitting is the new starting. Tell me about that.
I think this is a big thing. Again, I think a lot of people try to pile on new stuff in their life to be able to go out there and change their life. But I believe you need to shed things in your life. You need to quit things. And that means that maybe it's quitting drinking or a bad habit or people or a job that's not making you happy. I think that quitting is a way for you to start something new.
Yeah.
And so often we just add on layers to our lives, which complicates things.
It does. It really does. I remember my mother saying to me, at 40, she said, you'll start getting rid of your stuff. I go, really? Yeah, and then you'll start getting rid of some of the people that you're connected with, because you realize, even though you wish them well, you can only deal with so many people, so many things, because you have to concentrate on yourself and your family
and your
business,
that little
world that you're in.
Absolutely.
And then, what about girls in technology, science and technology and math? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, there weren't many women in the technology space. There were very few of us. I mean, I had letters and emails from people who were critical of what I did, and I think it's changing.
Why?
I think that they just didn't like that a woman went out there and maybe I knew more than the guy trying to fix my TV, which I still often do, by the way. So they didn't like that. And so I think there was a lot of people trying to pull me down, and I just focused and I studied more and I knew my stuff. And it's changing. There's more women in this field, thankfully.
You know what? I know this about you, Amber. I mean, you didn't go into university thinking that you were going to be doing this.
No, I did not.
So just one thing before we say goodbye to you is that the thing that turned it for you, what was it that made that, I'm going to go into technology. I'm going to go into that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, just quickly, I think for me, I just realized technology has the potential, especially today with things like artificial intelligence, to maybe cure and treat things like breast cancer, to change people's lives, to make people closer together, to connect people. And I love that potential, and we're really seeing that today.
And you've got the passion for it. I think when you choose a career like you have, you've got the passion for it.
I love it. You know
I know you do. We love having you on this show.
Thank you.
She showed me how to work my iPhone. Thank you, Amber. More great advice coming up.
Coming up, find out what entrepreneur Robert Herjavec's secrets to success are.
It's never too late.
Stay tuned.
So we're getting great advice from successful professionals today. If you could talk to your younger self, what would you say? Please welcome entrepreneur and author, Shark Tank star Robert Herjavec. Okay, so have a seat, everybody. I can't wait to talk to you about this because I want to know more. But your family fled Yugoslavia, came to Canada with one suitcase and $20.
We did. I landed in Halifax on a boat and took the train to Toronto and lived in someone's basement for 2 years.
How old were you when that happened?
I was 8 years old.
So very vivid memories.
Actually, I don't remember any of it.
Don't?
It was really, my mom used to say I repressed it all. I went from living with my grandmother on a farm, happiest kid in the world, to ending up going to school here, didn't speak the language, didn't know anybody, have this huge chip on my shoulder. It wasn't a fun time for me.
And when did it start getting a little bit better? How old were you?
Last week.
Was the chip there for a while?
No, the chip never comes off. You know, that's the one thing about the immigrant experience is I think it makes you harder. And I think it makes you want more, and it gives you purpose. Like people always say to me, it must be so hard what you've done and everything. And I always think of my dad and my mom. 37 years old, they leave a country, come to Canada, they don't speak the language, they have no money, they know nobody here. That's hard. Anything I do for the rest of my life will never be that hard. And I think as an immigrant, that really grounds you.
Oh, wow, wow. Here are a few of your accomplishments. We only have a couple minutes. It'll probably take an hour and a half. But anyway, you have a successful cybersecurity business.
We do.
You're a television star. Star, baby. You have a private island near Miami. You do.
Not true.
Not true?
No.
Who made that up? I did.
You're gonna find this shocking, but the media oftentimes makes stuff up. I know.
Do you have something near Miami? Do you own something?
Do.
Okay.
I do.
Might not be an island, but there you go. Race car driver?
I used to be.
Yes. Luxury car collector?
Great investments.
Okay. And an author of how many books?
This is the third book coming out. I can't believe it.
This is so good.
Shocking.
Yeah. And I think what the next
Biggest regret about the book
What, tell me?
was my mom never got to see it. Aww. You know, it's funny, immigrants, another thing about immigrants, they love reading. My mom, especially Eastern Europeans, she always used to think if I had a book, that would be a big deal. And all the success I had before she passed away and everything, she never got to sell.
She never
got to see the book.
Well, somebody once told me, well, they see what you're doing now. That's that kind of, at least it makes me feel a little bit better. Let's talk about your younger self. And I'm going to ask you advice you would give your younger self, Robert. And I say younger self, I'm going to say teenager, maybe early 20s, okay, about business and career. Let's start with business and career. What advice would you give your younger self about business and career?
You know, I think I did a lot of things well in terms of expertise in that. The one thing that I should have done better, because I would be far more successful, is you have to believe that the sun will always come up tomorrow. You know, when you're young and you're taking a job or you're starting a business, I've always been good at protecting the downside, because I thought, what if the world ends? And as I've gotten older, I realize, you know, the world isn't going to end. There'll always be a tomorrow. You can always recover. I had this desperation for success when I was in my 20s that I've let go as I've gotten older.
So were you extremely intense? Is that what you mean by that?
I was extremely intense, and sometimes I only built something to here. If I would have had more patience, I think I would have built a bigger business, a better company, and done more.
Wow, you really, And that's in
But here's the beauty of life.
What's that?
You can still keep
You
going.
can still do that.
Right?
You can
It's
still do it.
never too late.
Yeah, I look at this kind of segment as there you are right now, and you're talking to your 20-year-old self, you know? And you're saying the sun's going to come up tomorrow, so there you go. Right. How about if you were to talk to your 20-year-old self right now about health, what would you say?
I was just about to say, take care of yourself. I think that I'm in better shape now. I understand you have to eat properly. You have to, here was my version of staying healthy. Go to the gym and beat the crap out of myself for an hour.
Right.
And I was in pain and I hurt and I had to have my knees looked at, like, in moderation.
In moderation.
Right? Good exercise, good food, take care of yourself.
And let's talk about, you're a little bit older, about parenting.
Right.
What would you say to you as a young parent?
It's a mystery, you'll never figure it out.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3 kids.
Yeah. And
22 to 18.
And so the first baby came home, and if you could just be that little person on the shoulder going, okay, Robert, this is your first child, what would you say? What would you really say? Oh my gosh, it's really happening.
You know, I'm really happy with it. I think that I was very fortunate that I made a lot of money early on, and I got to stay home with my kids.
Okay.
Because a lot of people look back and say, oh, I wish I would have spent more time. I regret. I don't have those regrets. I was very fortunate I got to spend the time with them when they were younger. And, you know, your kids get older, they build their own lives.
They really do.
They do.
You hear that? They build their own lives.
You know, my son's 22. I mean, I see him, I talk to him, but I think when I was 22, I went months without talking to my parents.
I have to remind myself of that.
Right.
I have to remind myself that he's got his own thing.
And that's hard as you get older because there's a distance that develops and they leave.
And that's part of my next question, which is in the realm of relationships. One of the things I learned was to spend more time with my parents. My parents are gone now, but I'm glad I got to towards the end I don't know what happened, but I went, I've got to learn about the family history. I need to know about how they felt when they went through these things. That's what we mean about relationships.
So true. When my mom passed away, I felt like I lost all connection with my family. Because she was the one that sent the birthday cards. She was the one that said, no, that's Betty. She's your cousin from that person.
Yeah.
Be nice to her.
Right.
And then she was gone, and I had no idea who Betty was or who that cousin was. I have 54 cousins.
Jeez.
I don't know their names.
Yeah.
Because I would always call my mom and say, am I related to that?
Yes,
And she would say, yes. How do you not know that? You have to invest in those relationships. I recently went back to Croatia. I saw my aunt. It was, you have to work at relationships. And I should have done that better. I should have worked at my friends. I wasn't a great friend. I mean, I'm a good guy and I was good to them, but I treated them when it was convenient for me. And I don't mean that in a manipulative way, but I was just so busy.
Yeah.
You have to make time for those relationships.
Do you still have a very good friend from when you were in your 20s? Still a good buddy?
I'm still good friends with the very first person. When I came to Canada, they sent me to school. They put me in a desk. I didn't speak English. And the kid who sat in front of me, his name is Rene Ott, he turned around and he said, hi. And I went, like I was still my friend to this day.
I love that story.
Yeah,
I love
it's
that
great.
story. And then relationships on the personal side. What would you say to your younger self?
You know, I think you have to feel good about yourself. I think you have to believe that there'll be a future. And I think you have to believe that you're good enough. And, you know, a lot of people settle for a lot of different things. And you know, the other thing is life is incredible. You never know when you're going to meet somebody and when you're going to find the right person.
Thank you, Robert Herjavec.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice talking to the younger self, huh?
Wow.
It tells you where you are today.
I kind of feel like I am the younger self.
You are
still, Marilyn.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, when you go, if you could like recalibrate a little bit, you go, be nicer to yourself. Give yourself some more time. Yeah.
Yeah, less desperation.
That's right.
But I'm pretty happy with
you are looking good.
Thank
yeah,
you.
you look good. Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
Robert Herjavec, we got to take a break. We'll be right back.
Up next, former 80s teen movie icon Molly Ringwald reveals what she was thinking during the filming of The Breakfast Club.
Sometimes I just want to say, go to therapy.
That's up next.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Here to share the advice she would give to her younger self. Please welcome Molly Ringwald. You knew this, but Molly is no stranger about giving advice. You've written 2 advice books?
No, I wrote one book that was memoir and one book that's a novel and stories, but I did have an advice column in The Guardian, which is a paper out of England.
And how long did you have that for?
For a year. I signed on for a year.
And what was that like for you? Was it like more than you thought it was going to be? Or?
It was hard, actually, because I had a 460 word count, and the question was included in that. And there's just some issues or problems that just require more than 460 words.
Yeah.
So sometimes I would really find myself struggling to, and then sometimes I just want to say, go to therapy. Just like, that's all I can say.
Go to therapy. That's
yes.
it. But that, and did you live with that too, in the sense of, thinking about someone's problem and going, how am I going to approach this?
I did.
Yeah.
I took it really, really seriously.
Yeah.
It was really interesting for me, as a writer to look at what people are most concerned about. A lot of times I would hit up my friends, my very wise friends, or my parents.
Sure.
If I felt like it was an issue that I couldn't really relate to personally, if it was somebody that was, maybe a lot older than me.
Yeah,
or,
right.
But yeah, I took it really seriously. And I always said I was going to do maybe 5 at once and just save them up. And just like I did homework, it was always like the night before.
Last minute. Yeah, because I think you're like I'm my best right at the end.
Yeah.
That after I've done all this thinking right at the end.
Yeah.
Let's go take a. Now you had 2 books out. Let's talk about the 2 books. Mm-hmm. One is When It Happens to You, and the other one is Getting the Pretty Back.
That's right.
Was it tough for you to write books? Like, that's a big deal, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I enjoy writing. I've written for years. But it is, the hardest thing about it is, having a background in entertainment and having that sort of, call and response, that immediate reaction from an audience. You don't have that. You're just in a room by yourself, with your anxiety. And so luckily I have a husband who's a writer and an editor, and and he understands that, and I like to write in the room with him, just having him there.
The presence of somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not the way he likes to write, but
he wants to be by himself.
Yeah, he likes to be by himself.
So funny.
But he sacrifices that, for me because he knows I find it very comforting.
You didn't do this, honey. What do you think of this sentence?
I do that.
Did you do that?
Sometimes.
Yeah,
I mean,
right
you can kind of look over and see how involved somebody is. So, I try to be respectful of his routine as well.
That is so cool that you're both writers. Okay, let's take a look at some pictures right now. The Breakfast Club. What is this 16-year-old girl thinking in this shot? Right there. Not that's the one in the back with a pretty pink shirt on.
The one in the background. I probably was thinking, like, can you stop taking my picture now? Because that smile looks a little forced.
Were you? What was it like back then for you? Happy days, good days?
It was great.
Yeah.
I loved filming The Breakfast Club. I mean, it was really fun. I mean, I got a little sick of my wardrobe because I had to wear the same thing every day for 3 months.
That's right. You're stuck there. Oh yeah.
But we had a great time.
You seem to have maintained. You were very grounded as a teen. Like there wasn't a lot written about you in a bad way. I don't think I ever remember that.
There was a period of time.
So how did you deal with fame, first of all? And Was it a lot of because your parents protected you so well?
I have very protective parents, and I also, I feel like from a very young age, I knew that I wanted to do more than just act, and I feel like that gave me a sense of groundness. Like I wasn't just waiting for that next role. I always knew that I wanted to travel. I always knew I wanted to have a family. You know, and I was always really interested in books, and I feel like books really give you a sort of a window in a different, you know, frame of mind.
Sure.
And it just makes the world bigger.
You're an old soul, aren't you?
I guess so.
You really are.
I think
you really
so.
are. Like you're very aware of things that were around you.
Yeah.
And yet you're put into this very pop culture situation.
Yeah.
As we've talked before, there's 3 huge movies, let's just say that we'll talk about those movies, that really still resonate today.
Yeah.
You know? When you hear about this, well, you have 3 kids, social media. What if Molly Ringwald had to deal with social media back then? How do you think she would have handled that? You've been good on Twitter. 148 characters. Oh, done.
It's really hard to say. I don't know that I would have chosen the same career had I been faced with what kids are faced with today.
Yeah.
It was different. I felt like there was a possibility to have, you know, my public life and my private life be somewhat separate. There was a time when I wasn't working, and now I feel like it's just everyone's expected to be a brand.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be a brand, you know. I want to be a person, you know, who works. And you know, and so it's complicated, and I think we're all still figuring that out, and I'm still figuring that out as a parent, you know, how to protect my kids.
Right.
And also give them the freedom to express themselves in their lives.
The last question is, I wish I knew that then. What do you wish that you knew back then?
Wow. What did I wish I knew? I guess I wish I knew that I should wear more sunscreen.
That's okay. I like that. You know what? Yeah, that's right. Your skin looks fantastic. But
Thank you.
Just would have done a little bit more sunscreen.
Well, luckily, you know, I had the sort of red hair and the pale skin, so you know, the tan wasn't really the look that I was going for.
Right.
But I don't think I realized quite how important sunscreen is.
There you go. And you do tell your kids
Yes.
it's very important.
Yes.
Well, that wasn't the answer I was expecting, but I'll take it from Molly Ringwald. Thank you so much.
It wasn't super deep, but it was absolutely true.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. Molly Ringwald.
Coming up, actress and all-around lady boss Vivica A. Fox shares her advice on what to look for in a man.
Just try not to fall in love with a six-pack and a smile.
That's coming up.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Here to share the advice she would give to her younger self, the multi-talented Vivica A. Fox. Who just said to me that you were in a Michael Jackson video. What part did you play?
Remember the time, this is when I first moved out to California, and I was an extra in Remember the Time.
Yeah.
And so my debut was I was trying to serve Iman some tea, and she flipped me away, like, no, I don't want it, I don't want it. So every time I see that video and I see that's me, right there, right there.
That's your arm, that's your arm going in there.
The true treat was that I got to watch the greatest performer I've ever seen in my life dance all day.
Yeah.
And I miss him. I miss Michael Jackson so much. He's awesome.
You know what? I love the fact, and we could spend an hour talking about all the different things that you did to get where you are today. Because it's trial and error, isn't it?
Definitely. I definitely had some skid marks on my chin. Are you kidding me? Like, oh, that didn't work. That wasn't good. But it's all part of learning and growing and evolving and learning yourself. It's okay to make a mistake. Just don't let your mistakes define who you are or your character.
It's never too late either,
never too
is
late.
it?
Yeah. You can learn.
You and I talked about it this morning because of your business acumen now.
Yes.
Is the fact that you said to me on Chum FM that you are getting another
resurgence.
Yeah. And that's something you probably in your career you were thinking acting first. Is that what you were thinking?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Well, I used
Acting?
to model back in the day.
Right.
Because got a little height on me. But I am very glad that acting happened so I could eat, you know?
Yeah?
Yeah.
And directing?
I like bread every once in a while. You know? Like to dip it, you know?
But
I can't eat a whole
directing?
bunch. No, I haven't directed yet.
You haven't
I've
directed?
executive produced. I've executive produced television shows, stage plays that I've won awards with.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
pretty
I've done
great.
a lot of hosting.
Yes,
And
I know you
I
have.
love what I do, but branding has really been a wonderful chapter that is happening. But I never would have thought I would have so much fun and be so comfortable in my skin, and I'm going to be 52 years old in July. Yeah.
When in July?
Yeah.
When are you going to be 52? When's your birthday?
My birthday is July 30th. I'm Leo all day.
Oh,
all
you
day.
are Leo.
Yes, honey.
So now you got this lingerie line, which is curvy couture, which is beautiful.
Thank you.
So now here you are, almost 52.
Yes.
And what would you say to your younger self?
To enjoy the ride. I used to be so hard on myself. I used to, when I first started acting, I'd look for every little bit thing, like, oh, you missed that mark, or your hair, or this is out of place. And I had to learn to stop being my worst critic and to compliment myself and say, Vivica, look, you're doing your dream. You love what you do. Enjoy it. Don't be so hard on yourself. Look, learn. If you really did something that wasn't good, be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
But, you know, I always try to make sure that I look forward. Because if you keep looking backwards, you'll never get to see the blessings that are in front of you.
Exactly.
Yes.
How about when you're younger? What would you say to yourself as a younger person about managing money?
Oh, I've always been good with money.
Have you?
Oh, yes. No, I've never had my mother always taught me to save. I've always, and I don't like being broke. So, you know, that I never had a problem.
Hard.
Yeah, I never, I'm a hustler, honey. You never
Do you
got to
know
worry
where
about
every
being
dime
Vivica.
is? Do you know where every dime? Do you know like
I write all the checks for
Yeah.
everything that goes through my
Right.
household and my business. Yeah, I think that was a great lesson that I learned from Oprah Winfrey. That she says, as big as she makes sure that she sees payroll and she watches her money.
She
And
signs
she's
her
a
own
billionaire.
checks.
Yes, and
Yeah.
she signs her own checks.
Fame. Unbelievable pressure with fame. So
especially
you're
nowadays.
talking to well, for sure. Because I'll tell you something. If I started out now, I think I'd be in the fetal position in the corner for some of the terrible things people say on Instagram.
They like to be mean.
Yeah, it's terrible.
But
It's
every
terrible.
once in a while, I will clap back on them, y'all.
Yeah. So what would
Every
you?
once in a while, I get
Do
'em.
you?
Yeah, don't catch me after I might have had a glass of wine and not be in a good mood. You gonna get clapped back on real quick. But I try not to. I try to be the bigger person, but I'm human.
Yeah.
But if you come at me sideways, I might have to real quick. I'm just saying, right?
Yeah. See,
I'm human.
in this corporate world that I live in, I can't really do that. I just let it slide.
Oh,
I do. I have to let it
Every once in a
slide.
while, you'll feel good to clap
Should
back.
I do it? Okay, I
yeah,
might do
just
it.
clap back one time.
So what would you say? What would you say to your younger self about that? About when people are mean and people
Well,
are...
especially when they try to be mean to me. If they don't sign my checks, they don't matter.
Ah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Right.
Okay.
And then sometimes you look them up, the people that's like trying to slam you, and you're like,
Really?
seriously?
Yeah, I know, me too.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Too.
Seriously?
Okay, enough. I go, okay, enough said, enough
Yeah,
said.
enough said.
Yeah.
But, you know, I try not to have negative energy. I really try to be positive. And, you know, some people, they like that negative feedback. I try not to be, but I am human. And, you know, every once in a while, I'll get you. But overall, I try to, like, I have Monday motivational quotes. You know, we're blessed to live here and in this time.
We are.
with wonderful things that are happening. So I always try to look at the bright side of life and try to live, love, laugh.
Okay, now you are almost 52. You're going to
Yes.
talk to your younger self about love. What would you say? I know.
She would pick the one thing that I suck at. Oh, my God. You know.
What would you say?
You know. Just try not to fall in love with a six-pack and a smile. That's the main thing with me. You know, try to make sure that you take the time to get to know a person. Because, you know, sometimes people, especially, they'll show up for the first 3 months and they court you or they woo you in. And then all of a sudden, his evil twin comes through the door. And you're like, who are you? Where did you come from? Oh, it's going to be like that now? So, and also just learn to love yourself. Because if you really love and value yourself, in my opinion, no man, no person can treat you bad. If he doesn't treat you like a queen, he got to go.
He's got to go. Vivica A. Fox, thank you for doing this with us.
So
so
welcome.
good, so
You're
good.
so welcome.
All right,
You're
we
so
got to go to
welcome.
take a break. We'll be right back. I'm going to think about all those things.
Coming up, pay attention. Personal finance expert Kelly Keehn lists the key financial steps she should have taken years ago. Don't miss it.
All right, so for the past hour, we've been hearing from successful people on the advice they would give their younger self, which I love that. Think about what advice you give your younger self. Here to share her success story and the insights she's gained, please welcome personal finance expert Kelly Keehn is with us from Alberta.
Thank you, Dr. Marilyn.
Thank you very well. Well, you know, I'm so happy that I got that.
That is
I
so cool.
did. The University of
Congratulations.
Idaho gave me a doctorate, but of humane letters, but it's only an honorary one. So when I'm on their campus, that's when you call me doctor. By the way, none of you look good. You have to take 2 aspirin. Okay, I'm just kidding. Here's a small list of your accomplishments. You've written 9 books. She's working on 2 more right now. You did have a TV show. You serve on the government financial literacy committees. There's a couple of them. Speak all over North America. Do training for banks and trust companies for Canada and the U.S. and consumer advocate for the Financial Planning Standards Council. Is there anything else we need to know?
No, all lies. The agreement was that I was going to share my failures here today, Marilyn.
Okay.
That is so much more.
So, well, that's the point. That's why I'm glad that you decided to be with us on this particular thing. We've mentioned it before, but this has been a big journey for you.
Huge.
So let's go back to when you were advising people what to do with their money and...
Well, I mean, and that was the thing, was I knew how to, take investments, grow investments, work with retirement planning and things of that sort. But I didn't have the training of personal finance, of dealing with your credit, of all of that type of stuff. And I am the one personal finance educator in Canada that has made every mistake in the book. And it's not just even making all of those mistakes in my 20s that I then spent my 30s atoning for, but like health, there isn't really this state where you just, okay, I'm healthy and I'm good.
Yeah.
And I feel wealthy and I'm good. It's this struggle. And then we have our brain working against us because instant gratification is always there tempting us.
Yes.
So it's tough.
Did you try to keep up with the clients that you had? You tried to keep up with the income that they had, so you would dress like you had the kind of money that they had. And really, you were making a certain salary and you went and spent more than you had.
Yeah, we've talked about this
we
before.
have,
So
yeah.
at a very young age, I had a cushy job at a big bank, and I had a lot of branches, and I had very wealthy clients. And my mom, God bless her, taught me to, never put something on credit that you couldn't pay off, and that you paid off every single month. Sounds logical. What Mom didn't tell me was what happened if you didn't pay it off every month. What happens then?
Hi, Mom.
Oh,
Yeah.
such a, great single mom raising 3 kids. Boy, she had it tough. Mm-hmm. She did everything right. And within me, no surprise that my first book was on the psychology of money as a non-psychologist.
Right.
Because within me in my 20s was like, I don't want to be a poor kid, right? I for the first time was an adult, had lines of credit, had credit cards, had access to all of these things, had department store cards.
Yeah.
And
no parent saying you can't have that.
exactly.
Right? And when that happens, you're going, okay, let's go buy some stuff, right?
And here's the problem too, Marilyn, is as you make more money, if you don't have those fundamentals in place of saving the 10 or 20% or whatever it is,
right.
of keeping up with the Joneses, which by the way is a real thing. University of Alberta professor came out with a study that for every $1,000 that your neighbor wins the lottery, your likelihood of going bankrupt increases by 2.4%. Thank goodness your neighbor is not going to win the lottery, because you would be in trouble. But it's a real thing. See, in the old days, when you were poor, you looked poor. When you were rich, you looked rich.
Right.
Now, today, everyone's comparing themselves. And unless you are working with someone like a certified financial planner or a banker, you don't know what's behind that veil.
That's right.
Of if someone really has money or not. So you're looking at them. So in my 20s, I wanted to live like my clients until I started to really get to know them. And see some of my millionaire clients, paying attention to the bills, all of that. And the big awakening, the sober awakening, was in my mid-20s when I crunched the numbers, sat down with a certified financial planner, and they showed me how I was making a lot of mistakes. And it's like, really? You want to be paying for that sofa and that outfit for how long on your high interest rate credit card at like 28%? Wow. That was a big eye opener.
And that's what I think you have to do is you have to look at the numbers. But here's the thing about your journey. You say don't buy a home too early.
Yeah.
Tell us quickly why.
I did at 18, and I bought my first condo when I was 18. My mom helped me out, all that type of stuff. Thought it was a great investment, but I barely scraped by. No emergency fund. And embarrassed to say, but I'm the one that's shining a light on all things financial. I bounced the check of my first condo fees because I just barely got in.
Right.
And I didn't have anything
That was
extra.
the second one. Don't bounce checks.
Not that anyone writes checks anymore.
No, but
this is even harder now, Marilyn, because everyone has this auto debit. So if you're not paying attention,
you don't see it.
You have a bad month, bing, 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 you bounce it over here. You have something go NSF over there.
Yes.
That costs a lot. It really
don't
costs
rack up huge bills on department store credit cards.
Oh, that is axiomatic, but I see a lot of heads nodding. Easier said than done, especially when you get in that department store and my husband calls me squirrely eyes. Like, he actually pulls me away. See, I'm telling you that I have, I love shopping, and he'll pull me away. And you get into that kind of like retailers work on you getting into the store, and then by the way, you're at the going to pay for it, and they go, we could give you 10 or 15% off right now. And you're like, oh, I'm going to let Marilyn know what a great decision I made. Meanwhile, they know that you're putting it on a high interest rate card. So that savings is not a savings.
I got to tell you, Kelly, because I've learned from you. When they go, would you like 10% off if you join us? I go, no! I'm sorry, no.
No.
Thank you.
Excellent.
And don't spend all your earnings.
Yes, this is a really hard one too. Like I said, as people earn more, they think, well, if I could just earn a little bit more. I got to tell you, when I was in the industry, some of the most successful clients I had were teachers, had modest incomes, were not necessarily what you think. They were great savers. They were savvy. They were intelligently frugal. They knew to save up for things. They didn't put things on credit. Again, guys, this is hard. I'm not saying this because it's easy. It's hard. Like, a lot of people say to me, how's everyone else making it? How do they have 2 cars? How do they have that home? They have their kids in private school. They're taking the vacations. And I say, you'd be surprised. Maybe they aren't making it.
That's right.
They're throwing it on credit.
I want to talk about the last couple of points because I want to remind ourselves to hire a certified financial planner early on. I think as soon as you start making money, go talk to somebody.
Great point, Marilyn, because a lot of people think I need to have money to have something like that. You're going to have a
plan. You have to have a plan.
You have to have a plan. You're going to have millions of dollars flow through your life if you don't have a professional helping you, just like I have a personal trainer helping me. And then they tell you, too, when things are hard. They help you budget for things. I didn't have that.
Try not to file for bankruptcy.
This is so important. So when I did have a lot of debt, that was an option. But for me, I said, no, I racked up these bills. I'm going to pay them back. And I'm happy that I did, too, because there's a lot of work you can't get if you filed for bankruptcy.
So older Kelly, more mature Kelly, going to tell young Kelly?
Don't try to impress people. It's a game for yourself. Money, have a good relationship with money. Pay attention to money. Learn about money. Witness people who are good with money. Ask questions. And don't look at anyone else and compare yourself. You have no idea.
Yeah, learn from what talk to people about that stuff. But I say financial planner if you get a chance to do that. Well, there's a success story right there, everybody. How about that? Huh? Congratulations. Thanks to Kelly and all of our guests today for sharing their insights. We have to say goodbye. That's our show for today. We hope you got inspired.